Insurance Business TV was recently in Philadelphia, attending the National African American Insurance Association conference. Whilst there, we caught up with leading insurance professionals who addressed some of the top challenges the industry is facing today.
Yeah, absolutely. As sitting as the emerging leader chair in Chicago, obviously we have an aging industry, and we've had a lot of emphasis on development for current employees, people in the industry. And I think that we are in need of additional support for more of the identity-based groups that target young professionals. I think that what we have found has been very encouraging is investing in our emerging leaders' talent, whether that means we are having mixers, we are having specific programming put on directed specifically towards that group, as well as changing the narrative around insurance, right? What we hear about insurance is that it's an old, stuffy, kind of outdated industry. You hear insurance and you think of personal auto, personal home, and we need to really shift this into more of a risk perception, and that it's more of a global, or as a global industry that touches all industries. We're one of the only industries that touches all of those. So getting in there early. There are insurance programs. I was a part of one, but they already know, kind of what that looks like. We need to do a better job at getting into the high schools and to the college programs that do not have risk and insurance programs to really change that narrative. So I think starting early and getting these students involved in these identity-based groups much sooner will be something that'll help us attract more talent. Correct. I think this is a great kind of pivot from my first point, is where a lot of our leadership programs are more geared towards more established industry professionals, and not doing a good enough job at starting there early, kind of identifying promising talent, pairing them with sponsors, with mentors, and looking at what the future really looks like. A lot of us got into the industry. We thought we knew what our future would look like, and you have a hard time looking at the future into this. So I think that a lot of our leadership training programs, a lot of our executive programs, our sponsorship programs, we should have additional arms that target younger professionals that are coming directly into the industry. So those early career professionals, as well as some of our more mid-level folks such as myself. We usually don't tend to look at people, I would say, under the age of 35 as ready to take on these leadership positions. However, with our aging industry and how we have so many people retiring very quickly, the age is starting to shift lower and lower and lower. So we really need to start much sooner, much earlier with the investments into these programs geared towards early career professionals. Of course. So being in distribution, obviously, we touch a lot of lines of business, a lot of products. My background is in large and complex casualty. So that is typically where I'm seeing a lot of those kind of implications coming into the facts. But with the increase in nuclear verdicts and just where we kind of are in the market, we are seeing a shift from a really price-driven kind of model where we're really concerned about premium and, what that looks like. We are now trying to shift more into figuring out alternative structures for risk transfer. And it might not be risk transfer. It might be captives, risk retention, things of that nature. And you have to get very creative depending on what regulations are, depending on what your contracts look like, things of that nature. And so being in distribution means we see things much more holistically, and we have to be the problem solvers and figuring out what goes well with what. So that means starting much sooner. It means understanding what the relationship looks like with my organization as well as other organizations and which brokers have what lines of business. So I think it's more of a puzzle now that it used to be. It used to be very much more straightforward when it was just traditional risk transfer. Absolutely. I sit in the retail distribution arm of AIG, but we also have our wholesale distribution arm of Lexington. Yeah. And we find ourselves, once again, kind of becoming those problem solvers and fitting the puzzle pieces, where it means that these three lines that would traditionally be together, we might have to do two through the traditional retail means, and then we would have to do one through the wholesale means, or an alternative, or alternative structure or whatever that may look like. So before, when it would be, 3, 4, 5 lines sitting together, we're not seeing that because the appetite with our groups are changing very significantly and very rapidly, and these operational risks are becoming a lot more complex as we kind of progress with different facets of society.